Deep in the deserts of New Mexico lies one of America's greatest ancient mysteries. More than 1,000 years ago, a powerful civilization built massive stone structures, including the incredible Pueblo Bonito, a complex with over 600 rooms. They created vast roads, moved giant timber beams across long distances, and developed a thriving center in one of the harshest environments imaginable. But who were they? How did they accomplish such remarkable feats? And why did they suddenly leave it all behind? Today, we explore the secrets, theories, and unanswered questions of Chaco Canyon and Pueblo Bonito. Pueblo Bonito. Imagine walking through a desert canyon more than 1,000 years ago. The sun is rising over the cliffs, and ahead of you stands a massive stone structure, unlike anything else in North America at the time. Hundreds of rooms, multiple stories, perfectly planned walls, large ceremonial spaces, and thousands of people coming and going. At first glance, it looks like an ancient city, but the deeper archaeologists look, the stranger the story becomes. This is Pueblo Bonito, the largest and most famous building in Chaco Canyon, New Mexico. Even today, it remains one of the greatest archaeological mysteries in the United States. The name Pueblo Bonito means beautiful village, but the people who built it never called it that. The original name has been lost to history. What remains is an enormous D-shaped structure built from sandstone blocks and wooden beams. Construction began around the year 850 and continued for centuries. Generation after generation added new rooms, new walls, and new sections until the complex became truly massive. At its peak, Pueblo Bonito contained more than 600 rooms and dozens of ceremonial chambers known as kivas. The scale alone is astonishing. When early explorers first saw the ruins, many could hardly believe that ancient people in the American Southwest had created something so large and sophisticated, but size is only the beginning of the mystery. The first question archaeologists asked was simple: who lived here? For many years, researchers assumed Pueblo Bonito was a giant apartment complex where hundreds or even thousands of people lived together. It seemed like the most logical explanation. After all, why build hundreds of rooms if people were not living in them? But as excavations continued, evidence started creating doubts. Many rooms showed surprisingly little evidence of daily life. There were fewer cooking areas than expected, fewer household items, fewer signs of large permanent populations. This led some archaeologists to propose a completely different idea. What if Pueblo Bonito was not mainly a residential building? What if it was something more important? Some researchers believe the structure may have served as a ceremonial and political center where people gathered for special events rather than living there full-time. According to this theory, communities from across the region traveled to Pueblo Bonito for religious ceremonies, trade gatherings, celebrations, and important decisions. If true, it would make Pueblo Bonito less like an apartment building and more like an ancient capital. But the debate continues. No one knows exactly how many people lived there or how often the rooms were occupied. The building refuses to give a clear answer. Then there is the mystery of the construction itself. Building a structure this large required enormous resources. Thousands of sandstone blocks had to be collected, carefully placed. Even more impressive were the wooden beams. Researchers discovered that many of the beams came from forests located far away in mountain regions. Some trees were transported from distances of over 50 miles. Think about how difficult that would have been. No trucks, no horses carrying heavy loads, no modern equipment. Yet thousands of large logs somehow reached Pueblo Bonito. Exactly how this happened remains uncertain. Many experts believe groups of workers carried the timber by hand across difficult terrain. It would have required remarkable organization and cooperation. The effort suggests that Pueblo Bonito was extremely important to the people who built it. But why? That question becomes even more interesting when archaeologists examine some of the objects found inside. Excavations uncovered luxury goods that were very unusual for the region. marine shells from distant coastlines, copper artifacts, colorful parrots imported from areas far to the south. These discoveries revealed something surprising. Pueblo Bonito was connected to long-distance trade networks stretching across vast areas. People here were not isolated desert villages. They were part of a much larger world. Goods, ideas, and cultural influences moved through Chaco Canyon, yet researchers still struggle to understand exactly how this network operated. Who controlled the trade? How were resources distributed? What role did Pueblo Bonito play? Again, there are theories but no complete answers. One of the most fascinating discoveries came from studies of burials found inside the structure. Certain individuals were buried with valuable items and special treatment. This suggested that some people held higher status than others. For years, archaeologists debated whether Chaco society was relatively equal or whether powerful elites controlled important resources. Then genetic studies added a dramatic new piece to the puzzle. Research suggested that some high-status individuals buried at Pueblo Bonito were related through a family line that continued across generations. This raised an intriguing possibility. Could Pueblo Bonito have been ruled by an elite family? Was leadership passed down through generations? If so, this would mean Chaco society may have been more politically organized than previously believed. But even this discovery does not solve the mystery completely. Researchers continue debating how much power these families actually held and how the society functioned. Another puzzle involves the building's design. Pueblo Bonito was carefully planned. Many walls align with astronomical events and directions. The builders appeared to pay close attention to the movement of the sun and moon. Some researchers believe these alignments had ceremonial importance. Others argue that practical reasons may also have influenced the design. Regardless of the exact purpose, the planning demonstrates impressive knowledge and skill. Nothing about Pueblo Bonito appears random. Every wall, room, and open space seems connected to a larger vision. And then comes perhaps the greatest mystery of all. Why was Pueblo Bonito abandoned? For centuries, it served as one of the most important centers in the Southwest. People invested tremendous effort in building and maintaining it. Trade flourished. Ceremonies likely brought communities together. The structure stood as a symbol of power and achievement. Then gradually activity declined. By the late 1100s and early 1200s, the region faced serious environmental challenges. Long droughts affected farming, water became harder to obtain, food production suffered. Many experts believe climate problems contributed to the decline, but environmental stress alone may not tell the entire story. Large societies rarely collapse because of a single cause. Political tensions may have emerged. Trade systems may have weakened. Religious authority may have changed. Population movements may have shifted the balance of power. The exact combination of factors remains unknown. What we do know is that Pueblo Bonito eventually lost its central role. People moved elsewhere. The great rooms became empty. The ceremony stopped. The voices disappeared. Only the stone walls remained. For hundreds of years, the structure stood silently beneath the desert sky. Wind entered doorways once used by ancient travelers. Dust gathered in abandoned rooms. The building slowly transformed into a monument to a forgotten age. When modern archaeologists arrived, they uncovered enough evidence to reveal the greatness of Pueblo Bonito. Yet they also discovered how many answers had vanished with time. Every excavation solved one mystery and created another. Every new discovery opened fresh questions. It is not just a ruin. It is a giant, unanswered question built from stone. Now let's look at the present situation at Pueblo Bonito. There are several positive developments. The site is protected as part of Chaco Culture National Historical Park and receives ongoing preservation efforts. Researchers continue studying the structure using advanced technology that allows them to learn more without damaging the ruins. Visitors from around the world can experience the site and gain a deeper understanding of the achievements of the ancestral Puebloans. Public awareness and respect for indigenous history have also increased significantly in recent years. However, there are also challenges. Natural erosion continues affecting the ancient stonework. Extreme weather, temperature changes, and occasional heavy rains slowly wear down the structure. The remote location makes preservation difficult and expensive. Some cultural groups and archaeologists remain concerned about development activities near the broader Chaco region, believing they could affect the landscape and cultural heritage connected to the site. My personal opinion is that Pueblo Bonito may be one of the most impressive ancient structures ever built in North America. What fascinates me most is not its size, but the unanswered questions surrounding it. A building this enormous clearly mattered deeply to the people who created it, yet they left no written explanation behind. More than 1,000 years later, we can still admire the walls, but we are still trying to understand the full story hidden within them. Today, Pueblo Bonito remains the centerpiece of Chaco Canyon. Its towering stone walls continue attracting archaeologists, historians, travelers, and indigenous communities who see it as an important connection to the past. Though much has been learned, the mystery of why it was built, how it functioned, and why it was ultimately abandoned remains one of America's greatest unsolved ancient puzzles. Chaco Culture National Historical Park. Picture yourself driving through one of the most isolated landscapes in the United States. The road becomes rough, the nearest town feels far away, cell phone signals disappear, the desert stretches endlessly in every direction. Then, hidden among the cliffs and dry earth, an ancient world suddenly appears. Massive stone buildings, ancient roads crossing the desert, ceremonial structures, mysterious alignments with the sky, and a civilization that somehow flourished in a place where survival itself seems difficult. This is Chaco Culture National Historical Park in northwestern New Mexico, one of the most important archaeological sites in North America, and one of the greatest unsolved mysteries on the continent. The first thing that surprises most visitors is the location. The area is dry and remote. Rainfall is limited. Summers are hot. Winters can be cold and harsh. Looking at the landscape today, many people immediately ask the same question. Why here? Why would an ancient civilization choose this place as the center of a powerful regional network? More than 1,000 years ago, between about 8550 and 1250 AD, Chaco Canyon became the heart of a remarkable culture. During those centuries, builders created some of the largest and most impressive structures ever constructed in ancient North America. The canyon was not filled with simple villages. Instead, enormous stone complexes appeared across the landscape. These structures, known today as great houses, contained hundreds of rooms. Some stood several stories tall. Their walls were carefully built using sandstone blocks fitted together with surprising precision. Even now, after centuries of weather and erosion, many sections remain standing. When archaeologists first studied these buildings, they quickly realized something unusual was happening here. The scale of construction seemed far beyond what people expected from a desert community. This was not a small settlement. This was a center of influence, a place that connected communities across a huge region. Yet one mystery appeared almost immediately. How did the builders obtain the materials needed for these massive projects? Stone was available locally, but wood was a different story. Thousands of large wooden beams were used throughout the canyon's buildings. Scientific studies later revealed that many of these trees came from distant mountain forests. Some had traveled dozens of miles. A lie. Imagine carrying enormous logs across rough desert terrain without trucks, wagons, or modern tools. The amount of labor required is difficult to imagine. Who organized these efforts? How were workers coordinated? What kind of leadership existed? Nobody knows for sure. The answers disappeared long ago. As researchers continued exploring the canyon, they discovered another mystery. Ancient roads extended outward from Chaco in multiple directions. At first, finding roads might not sound unusual. Most civilizations build roads, but these roads were different. Many were incredibly straight. Instead of following natural paths around hills and obstacles, they often cut directly across the landscape. Some sections climb steep slopes that seem impractical for daily travel. From the ground, they are difficult to see. From the air, they become much more impressive. The roads appear almost deliberate in their refusal to take easy routes. This has created decades of debate. Some archaeologists believe they served as transportation routes connecting distant communities. Others think they may have held religious significance. Perhaps they were ceremonial pathways used during important gatherings. Maybe they represented spiritual journeys rather than practical roads. The truth remains uncertain. And then there is the sky. One of the most fascinating aspects of Chaco Canyon involves astronomy. Researchers noticed that some structures appear aligned with solar and lunar events. Certain buildings interact with sunlight in striking ways during specific times of the year. Shadows move across walls and openings with surprising accuracy. This suggests the builders carefully observed the heavens. For ancient societies, the sky was more than something beautiful to look at. The sun, moon, and stars helped determine seasons, planting times, ceremonies, and beliefs about the universe. Many experts believe astronomy played a major role in Chaco culture. Some even argue that the canyon functioned as a giant ceremonial landscape connected to celestial events. Others caution that not every alignment should be viewed as intentional. Still, there is little doubt that the people of Chaco possessed a sophisticated understanding of the sky. Their knowledge continues to impress researchers today. The mysteries do not end there. As excavations continued, archaeologists uncovered evidence of long-distance trade. Items found in Chaco came from places hundreds of miles away. Marine shells arrived from distant coastlines. Copper objects traveled across vast distances. Colorful parrots and exotic materials appeared in a region where they naturally did not exist. These discoveries revealed that Chaco Canyon was connected to an enormous network of exchange. Goods moved across deserts, mountains, and valleys. Ideas moved as well. The people living here were part of a larger world, but exactly how this trade system worked remains unclear. Who controlled it? How were resources distributed? Did powerful leaders oversee these exchanges, or was the system more cooperative? Again, the evidence leaves room for multiple interpretations. One of the biggest debates surrounding Chaco Canyon focuses on power. Was this a highly organized society controlled by elite leaders, or was it a loose collection of communities working together? Different discoveries seem to support different possibilities. Some burials contain valuable items and signs of high status. Certain buildings appear more important than others. Evidence suggests that specific families may have held special positions for generations, yet other findings suggest cooperation and shared cultural traditions played an equally important role. The reality may lie somewhere between these views. Unfortunately, the people who built Chaco left no written records explaining how their society worked. Without written accounts, researchers must rely on architecture, artifacts, and clues buried beneath the soil. Each discovery helps, but none provides a complete picture. Then came the collapse, or perhaps decline is a better word. Around the late 1100s, changes became increasingly visible. Construction slowed, activity decreased. Some buildings were no longer maintained. People gradually began leaving the canyon. Why? That question has become one of the greatest mysteries in American archaeology. Climate studies show that the region experienced severe droughts during this period. Water became scarce, agriculture became more difficult, food production likely suffered. Many experts believe environmental stress played a major role, but drought alone may not explain everything. History shows that societies often survive difficult environmental conditions. Usually, multiple pressures combine to create major. That question has become one of the greatest mysteries in American archaeology. Climate studies show that the region experienced severe droughts during this period. Water became scarce, agriculture became more difficult, food production likely suffered. Many experts believe environmental stress played a major role, but drought alone may not explain everything. History shows that societies often survive difficult environmental conditions. Usually, multiple pressures combine to create major continued living throughout the Southwest. Many indigenous communities today maintain cultural and spiritual connections to Chaco. For them, the site is not merely an archaeological location, it is part of a living heritage. This connection adds another layer to the story. Chaco Canyon is not just about ancient mysteries, it is also about remembering and respecting the people whose ancestors created these remarkable achievements. Today, visitors walking through the canyon often experience a strange feeling. The buildings are silent, the plazas are empty, yet the place feels alive with history. Every stone wall seems to carry a story. Every doorway feels connected to people whose names have been lost to time. The mystery becomes personal. You find yourself asking the same questions archaeologists have asked for decades. Who were these people? What were their lives like? What dreams did they have? Why did they build something so extraordinary in such a challenging environment? And why did it eventually fade away? Those questions keep bringing researchers back year after year. Even with modern technology, satellites, advanced mapping, and scientific analysis, many answers remain hidden. Perhaps that is part of the attraction. Some mysteries become less interesting once they are solved. Chaco Canyon remains powerful because it still refuses to reveal all its secrets. Now let's look at the present situation at Chaco Culture National Historical Park. There are many positive developments. The park is protected and carefully managed. Archaeologists continue making discoveries through ongoing research. Modern preservation efforts help stabilize ancient structures and protect them from further damage. Visitors can explore the site, learn about its history, and experience one of the most important cultural landscapes in North America. Public awareness of indigenous history and heritage has also grown significantly, helping people better understand the importance of the canyon. However, there are challenges as well. Natural erosion continues to affect ancient buildings. Wind, rain, temperature changes, and time slowly wear down the structures. The remote location makes maintenance difficult and expensive. There are also ongoing concerns about industrial development in nearby areas, which some researchers, tribal communities, and preservation groups believe could impact the cultural and environmental integrity of the region. My personal opinion is that Chaco Culture National Historical Park represents one of the greatest achievements of ancient North America. What makes it truly fascinating is not just the architecture, but the number of unanswered questions that remain. More than 1,000 years later, we still cannot fully explain why such a powerful center emerged in this remote desert, how it organized massive construction projects, or why its influence eventually faded. That combination of achievement and mystery makes Chaco one of the most captivating archaeological sites in the world. Today, Chaco Culture National Historical Park remains a protected national treasure. Researchers continue studying its roads, buildings, astronomy, and history. Thousands of visitors travel to the canyon each year, while descendant indigenous communities maintain important cultural connections to the site. Even after centuries of investigation, Chaco Canyon still stands in the New Mexico desert, guarding many of its deepest secrets.